All right, we'll move on right now. Sarah Brooke Lyons is a photographer, and from Africa to New York, Brazil to the Hill Country, that was one clap. Sarah strives to capture the essence of a culture through photography, and she is a Texas native. Her roots in the city of San Antonio have given her a unique and genuine perspective of the city's cultural landscape. With 10 years of photography experience, she focuses on creating artistic stories in each particular image. Remember that, young man. Okay. Her aesthetic style, most evident, however, when she is immersed in a subculture, inconspicuously becoming part of the group, presenting an uncommon perspective of the story, as you will see. Her desire is to continue the focus on finding the allure in every subject through her faith, her entrepreneurial drive, and artistic spirit. Please give it up for, now on the main stage, Sarah Brooke Lyons. Thank you.
That's quite an introduction. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to get straight to it. A little bit of a story on my recent travel adventures. So in June of 2014, I went for a second time to Burkina Faso. It's one of the poorest and least developed countries in the world. It's slightly larger than Colorado with a population of 16.3 million. Education here isn't free, and it has the lowest literacy rate in the world. So I just want to kind of bring some awareness to this area and tell you a little bit about my experience there. So I arrived in the city of Ouagadougou, which is the capital city. It means you are welcome here and home with us, and you definitely get that feeling immediately. It's a third world metropolis, African architecture that's very inspiring, and offshoots of unpaved roads. We traveled from Ouagadougou to a city called Dono, which is 4 hours southwest, and I got to gaze out the window and kind of look at the everyday life that people experience there. It's largely agricultural. 75% of the population lives in rural environments. They grow cotton. They have large resources of gold and shea butter. They live in family compounds generally. There's a very strong sense of community and family, and a really lovely pace of life that slows everything down quite a bit. There's a relationship emphasis. A long time is spent talking and learning about how your family's doing before you get to any business. The people are very strong, from tilling the fields by hand, breaking apart rocks. They have big wide eyes and big smiles, and they're always adorned in colorful fabrics and very welcoming and still very reserved in their energy. I went to Dono specifically to stay with the Richters, and they're a family that's devoted their lives to helping the people that are there. And they spread God's love through works of service. They're under the umbrella of Living Water International, so a lot of their time is spent with water well repair, but they also have areas that they meet educational and medical needs as well. And there aren't really any other NGOs doing much work in this area. So we spent a day working on a water well repair. In the early 90s, Japan struck a barter with the government that if they could drill for gold, they would put in a water well wherever they didn't find gold, and these water wells were very poorly done, and most of them don't work now. So the Richters have mapped this out and are going in and replacing all of the hardware. So we spent some time helping them with that, and it's really the most wonderful thing to see a village that's been drinking polluted water and spending their days traveling to get clean water have this access, and it's this joyous outbreak of song and dance. And I got to dance with the women and under the big trees in Africa and hear the children dance, and it's really quite amazing. They reach some of the malnutrition needs by planting something called a moringa tree, and it's called the Tree of Life. They have a couple of plots that they've dedicated to cultivating this tree. The leaves are harvested and they're dried and they're ground into a powder. And then that powder can be distributed and sprinkled onto rice or whatever food is available. And it's kind of a miracle plant. It has 7 times the vitamin C of oranges, 4 times the vitamin A of carrots, 4 times the calcium of milk, 3 times the potassium of bananas, and 2 times the protein of yogurt. So this is really providing a ton of nutrition in a highly malnourished area. And they also really bring in the community, and these are some of the women there that are planting. I went really specifically to look at a program that's called Infants in Distress, and this was founded in 2011 in response to the problem of infanticide. So if a Woman dies in childbirth, which isn't too uncommon. They'll often wrap the baby up and put it in a wash tub and leave it in an empty home. The baby, unfortunately, there aren't resources to care for it, and it's often seen as cursed. So the church movement has stepped in, and they will provide bottles and formula and monthly medical exams and malaria treatment, nutritional supplements, education for the caregiver, to stop this problem of infanticide. It's aimed specifically at ages 0 to 2, and they've also found that a lot of times women aren't producing milk as they need to. Women who have been widowed are often brought into the program as well. And so these babies whose lives would have been disposable are now becoming some of the healthiest in the community through this nutrition and through this intervention. And I want to introduce you to Rebecca. She's here in the blue and gold, and she's just a force of nature. And she sort of runs this program there in Dono. And she spends her days out on her little moto, and she drives and she goes and checks on these babies, and if she hears a story of a baby in need, she's finding out what's going on. She models caregiving behavior. She makes sure they have mosquito nets. This is a mother that's part of the program, and her baby, unfortunately, she's very mentally ill and had been taken advantage of and really wasn't able to care for her infant. So in this situation, the infant would have been left to die, but the grandmother took the baby to the Infants in Distress program, and they've been able to have the grandmother now care for the infant, and the mother is still part of the life, and the baby's doing wonderfully. This baby here was on his mother's back, and she went out to a water well and had an epileptic seizure and died, and the baby was left out in a field on her back for a full day before anyone found them. They took them to the grandmother. The grandmother is now able to care for the baby with help of the nutritional supplement in the program, and she's so healthy, one of the healthiest babies in the village. The program ends up affecting other family members as well. This is Natalie and her twin brothers. They were brought across several countries, which is cultures and languages, to live with an aunt after the mother died, and now because of the baby's introduction into the program, Natalie will be going to school. She's 9 years old and she's never attended school before. So the families end up being very affected. This is Juliet. Juliet was widowed shortly after giving birth to twins and wasn't producing the milk needed. She took her babies to the program and was welcomed in. Shortly after, her house fell in, and because she had this growing relationship, they were able to fix her home. Now she works for the program. She helps make nutritional supplements, and she supports these other women. And in spite of all these dire circumstances that are going on in Dono and Burkina Faso, it's such a beautiful country full of life and love and passion and color. And my journeys there have led me to this sense of connectedness and a desire to understand those communities more. I often feel really small in the face of all these really big struggles, not just in Africa, but anywhere I look around. And I'm learning that the best thing that I can do is to tell the stories with love and with compassion. And Pema Chodron has had a quote that's brought me comfort lately. She says, "We don't set out to save the world. We set out to wonder how other people are doing and reflect on how our actions affect other people's hearts." Thank you. It's hard. It's hard. You know.
Is it good?
It's great. Good job. You're going to take my job.
Yeah, first of all, tell me about your job. How, even though you're doing wonderful stuff, how do you support yourself in San Antonio?
I do commercial photography, portraits, food photography, a little bit of marketing work, some
and
magazines.
how often do you get to do something like that? And was it for this specific NGO?
There is no NGO involved here. This is a missionary family. So this was done through my church, which is Oak Hills. This is the third trip I've taken. This one was privately funded. So the time and the efforts are volunteer.
And where do the images go, and how do they work in terms of helping the group?
Well, I'm developing a website for them so that they can have a place for donations, working on some pamphlets and marketing material, making a fundraising video, those kinds of things.
And the hydroponics guy wanted me to ask you more about that miracle plant. What was that again?
Moringa.
Moringa.
Moringa tree, yes. And it's very quick, grows very quickly. It's not native to Africa, but it's been brought in specifically for this.
And some people out there might be wanting to get more into photography, or
Sure.
you know, as another career.
Yeah.
And how do you get involved in going outside the country like that? I mean, obviously it's through your church, but how tough
Sure.
was that? And can you do it if somebody just wanted to do it?
Sure. I went my first trip just as a volunteer. I found out who was going, and I found a group that I felt was really doing good work. And I went and I took my camera and I took a lot of pictures, and that's all it takes, really.
And what kind of camera do you use? Just the last quick question.
I use a Nikon D600.
I got a 610.
Nice.
And you took, that was great. Okay, anyway, thank you. Give it up for Sarah Brooke Lyons.